Hi guys, Adam here as per usual. Hope you're having an awesome Monday and hope you had a great weekend. This week, nothing real to report. I'm going to answer another quick question based on tone. So I'll see you guys in just a few seconds. Alright guys, so real quick question this week from Arsenal fan Richie. Arsenal, poor club to support. Arsenal fan Richie asks me, Adam, what's your approach to EQing guitar? Do you kind of have an idea before you record as to what pickup selection / guitar you want to use for specific tones? Or is it usually a trial and error kind of process? A little bit of both, to be totally honest with you. I've had the luxury when recording the Sky Painter album of being able to do a lot of reamping and experiment with tones that way. But yep, 90 to 95% of the sort of sounds I'm going for, I already roughly know in my head what they're going to sound like and how I'm going to get them. And it's all about sort of knowing your instruments and your amps and your pedals, etc. inside out. That's why I spend a lot of time tone tweaking and things like that, doing dummy recordings of stuff, just so I can get used to how sort of my gear sounds. And then when it comes to the actual recording, and if I'm on a, let's say in the future I'm on a budget or on a sort of a time constraint, I know roughly how to get the sounds I'm going for. So I know roughly what my Ibanez is going to sound like recorded as opposed to the Sir. The Sir has a lot of extra sort of low end in the tone, a lot of richness and a lot of sort of low mid warmth. The Ibanez doesn't have as much low end, courtesy of the thinner body and the pickups that I'm using in that. It's got a higher sort of output sound. It's a lot more kind of spiky in the mid-range, and it's a really mid-rangey sounding guitar. I really like that. And the PRS, I know that that's going to sound kind of fat and creamy throughout. It's kind of very bassy, very trebly. Not a lot in the upper mid region, I'm finding. I have to dial in a bit extra hard on the treble to sort of really bring that sort of bite into the guitar. But because of the sort of P90 soap bar style pickups, it's got that really creamy, really rich lead sound. So I know what they're going to sound like, and I also most of the time know how it's going to sound when I'm running back out, reamping into the amp and into the pedals. So I know that the majority of the time I'm going to want to use the Ultra channel. I'm going to be cutting a lot of bass out, and I'm going to be smashing that in the front end with the Mark L Jazzy drive and things like that. But there is some kind of trial and error as well. I'm particularly finding on the clean tones and on the lead tones, because the clean tones, when I'm recording the clean tones, I always go for sort of a full frequency clean sound. So coming out of the cab, everything's rolled off at about 8 kilohertz, something like that. Maybe a bit lower, maybe a bit higher, depending on the cab you have. Recording, I always go for a full frequency clean sound, like on the Alan Holdsworth records. Bring that kind of unnatural, because we're so used to hearing the tone without it, so that unnatural kind of treble and sparkle and high end, as well as some of the extra low end sort of into the signal. So that's a lot of trial and error, EQ and getting used to EQ and that. What chorus effects am I going to use? What reverbs am I going to use? That kind of thing. Likewise for the lead tones, I've got a myriad of different lead tones I like to try, and then I've also got the ability to sort of tweak them sort of from there and just experiment with them. But the short answer is yes, generally I do always have sort of the tone in mind before I press the record button, but reamping has the ability to be able to experiment on the way out. As for go-to EQs, I've mentioned in lots of videos in terms of the amp and the kind of live sound, I'm using 2 channels of valve-driven EQ. One before the amp, which I'm cutting out a lot of bass, adding in some mids and cutting out a tad treble. And then one in the effects loop straight after the preamp, where I'm bringing that bass back in, bringing the treble back in and keeping the mids about static. I'm finding that's how my amp best responds to sort of EQ, and that's the tones I'm going for. In terms of rhythm guitars in the studio, generally I'm rolling off everything below about 100 Hz and everything above about 8 kilohertz, and I'm normally giving it a little extra kick in the mids at about 350 Hz, because you guys know me, I like a really mid-rangey sort of guitar tone. I don't care if it sounds particularly boxy, I quite like that sound. It's really present, really crunchy, really strong. It is kind of boxy and it's hard to get it to spread, so I'm having to double track, obviously, to get that natural kind of spread. But that'd be the EQ that I tend to go for. Not a lot of bass, a little bit of treble, whole load of mids. Alright guys, see you on Wednesday when we'll be discussing more gear, and on Friday when I've got another lesson planned for you of some kind. So, have a great week, and until I see you next, take it easy.